Hello Chronoholics, this is Dr. Karan Madan. It is such a pleasure to create fresh, new, informative video content for you that it helps when you like our videos and subscribe to the channel. A huge shout out to Chronoholic, India's largest and fastest growing watch collectors community with over 17,000 members across all platforms. The general consensus in the watch collecting community is that the 70s were the golden age of watchmaking. The world not only saw a paradigm shift with the advent and flooding of the market with quartz technology, but we also had some of the most famous designs and names take hold of the global psyche. Interestingly, the 70s also saw the most experiments in colors, shapes, sizes, and a general shake-up of the standards. In their corner of the world, back in the 60s and 70s, King Seiko watches were making a big mark. Made and marketed as upper-tier watches for the true watch lovers with better designs, movements, and finishing than their Seiko branded counterparts. We covered this in the previous review about the King Seiko KS 1969 Forest Green SJE 113, which you can check out here. One particular and admittedly peculiar line from the 1970s, produced only for a short 3-year run from 1972 to 1975, was the Vanak. The angular cases, varied finishing styles, faceted crystals, integrated bracelets, and wildly colored and textured dials with faceted indices made for some cool and interesting watches. This line, to me, was Seiko's challenge to the world, showing the naysayers and the gatekeepers that they could stand up and match up to anything the Swiss could do. They had already beat the Swiss movement makers in chronometry competitions. They had broken the back of the industry with the invention of highly efficient quartz timekeeping technology. And then they went toe-to-toe in design as well. Unfortunately, the Vanak line and other mechanical lines from Seiko were discontinued in the 70s because Seiko decided to move towards quartz technology. That actually makes Vanak watches from the 70s quite scarce and highly collectible because of their kooky designs. Interestingly, Vanak is an abbreviation, the full form of which has been lost to time. Historians claim that back in the 70s it stood for vanity and accuracy, but modern marketing speak calls it vibrant, active, novel, alternative, comfortable. Then again, we do live in this century, and it is one thing to fall back on the claims and glory of 50 years past, but another thing altogether to do it again but better. And so, Seiko has risen to the challenge once again with the announcement and release of the revamped King Seiko Vanak collection in 2025. Living up to its predecessor's USP is the 41mm wide bezel-less sculpted steel case as if carved from a solid block of metal, with sharp edges and angular facets. The top view of the case is a sight to behold, with high contrast brushed and Zaratsu polished surfaces, which helps the case catch the light in beautiful ways. While the 41mm width may sound concerning, the relief comes from the 46mm top to bottom length, which makes sure the watch neither appears nor wears too large. The angular polished surfaces flow down into brushed sides, and underneath that we can see an underhanging display case back, which imparts a height of 14.3mm to the overall watch case, including the box sapphire crystal on top, which has generous anti-reflective coating. The compactness of the case is emphasized by the integrated steel bracelet, which flows and tapers down from the case to the double deployed butterfly clasp. Each link has multiple facets and finishes, with even the edges angled inwards. The bracelet links are slim in appearance, but they are quite solid and robust in feel. The business side of the watch is so good. The new Vanak models carry forward the same legacy from their predecessors from the 70s with multiple textures on the dial. There are sunburst central areas, striped areas, shiny metal rings on both sides of the minute track, and angular facets around the 12 o'clock marker with a color-matched frame around the date window. With liberal use of chrome and gold plating on the markers, date window frames, dial rings, and color-matched baton-style hands, there is no shortage of flair on these latest releases. The 12 o'clock marker and the counterbalance on the seconds hand are distinctly V-shaped to denote Vanak. The long shiny plated hands filled with luminous material denote the time clearly. The crown is my favorite piece of hardware on this watch. It looks totally futuristic. It's totally sci-fi. The deep grooves make for an excellent grip on this screw-down crown, which imparts 100 meters of water resistance to the King Seiko VANAC. It has an engraved King Seiko shield on the top side and is very smooth to operate. Turning the watch around, we see the first ever exhibition case back on any King Seiko watch ever. This was done specifically to showcase the all-new caliber 8L45, which beats at 4 Hz and still provides a power reserve of 70 hours. As serious Seiko nerds know, 8L series calibers are unfinished, unregulated Grand Seiko calibers, and as such, the 8L45 caliber in the King Seiko VANAC collection is a direct descendant of the Grand Seiko caliber 9S65. Since these watches were designed keeping the modern Tokyo skyline in mind, we have the Tokyo Sunrise with the silver dial and gold accents, the Tokyo Sunlight with the light blue dial and chrome accents, the Tokyo Twilight with the purple dial and gold accents, and lastly, the Tokyo Midnight with a deep blue dial and chrome accents. There is also a 700-piece limited edition called the Tokyo Dawn with a lovely brown dial and gold accents, which came to India in very limited numbers and is all sold out. The color choices may seem a little wild overall, but they are in tune with the original line, and more importantly, every version with its unique blend of colors simply comes together beautifully to provide a cohesive watch on the wrist that can surely spark conversations. Viewers might say, but Karan, you have big wrists, so 41mm looks good on it. And to that I'll say, do not worry. The short lug-to-lug dimension of only 46mm, the way the sharply angular case looks, the finishing and taper on the bracelet, and even the inward angled edges make the watch appear a lot smaller than it seems. At the recent Chronoholic X King Seiko event in Delhi, many of our members exclaimed in delight at how good the watch looked on their wrists.
So I've always been a fan of the King Seiko. I think it's like that, it hits that sweet spot between the Seiko and the Grand Seiko.
This King Seiko is something, like I would say, it's a revelation. It's catching the light in a lot of nice places.
This VANAC connection is very nice. They have done an excellent job.
Nothing less than a king. That's all about King Seiko. I think can rule every second with it.
Now let's talk about the good, the bad and the ugly. Because it wouldn't be a proper Chronoholic review if we did not maintain objectivity. These watches overall look dressy yet sporty because of the design and finish. They feel very solid and heavy and come together beautifully on the wrist. But the height is definitely an issue because at 14.6mm thick, it is not as dressy a watch as Seiko intends it to be, but it becomes more a finely finished sports watch. The design language though does its best to negate that effect, and it looks very sleek from every angle other than the side-on view. Next, the bracelet is both a win and a loss for Seiko. It absolutely wins because apart from being impeccably finished and aptly matched to the case, it also has quick release spring bars. And that makes me very happy because eventually there is scope of getting fitted rubber and leather straps from the brand. The bracelet loses a little bit of that shine though when you consider the absolute lack of any quick adjustment capabilities on the clasp. I can personally overlook this small nitpick because of the perfect fit achieved by the careful removal of the slim, flat links. Another aspect of the watch that loses and wins at the same time is the dial. Why aren't there more chrome and gold accents? To have a few accents at the 12 o'clock marker and the date window frame seems a little incomplete to me. Everything I can probably overlook, but there is one small thing about this dial that to me is a criminal offense, and that is the mention of automatic 3 days. Look, I get that Seiko wants to promote this new caliber as a feat of engineering, and it sure is, but a 3-day power reserve in this day and age is nothing to be proud of. This was already achieved by most competent watchmakers back in 2018 and 2019. If you don't believe me, even the Chronoholic community had something to say about it. You know what? Don't mind me please. I'm a Seiko fanboy and I would want the brand to keep making new watches and I would love to keep buying them. Apart from the 3 days text on the dial, everything else is a relatively minor nitpick. And even that should not stop you from going out and enjoying these terrific watches. The King Seiko VANAC watches are available at Rs 2,70,000 from this brand's website and multiple boutiques. But if you want a killer deal on these watches, then slide into our DMs on Instagram. Heartfelt thanks to Seiko India for sending these watches across for review. We wish them more success with the King Seiko line. Thank you for watching.